first thing which we talked about, like what is all about master data. So we have a master data like uh, based on across the industry, whatever, like it is a banking sector, manufacturing, retail, wherever you see. So basically, based on a different uh, different domain, we have a different master data. Like for an example, customer, vendor, material, employee, etc. And basically, those master data, uh, if you go back to like a decade back or more, uh, there was not in that way all the master data was streamlined what we have right now today. Uh, but over the period of time, what happened, the thing has been changed drastically. So we have now a lot of data, and now it is a time to manage those data with a proper governance process. Otherwise, what is going to happen that you may have in your organization a lot of data, but you will not, if you are not managing those records in a proper way, those records will not return back to you uh, in a fruitful manner. Like it will not give you more business, or like the way it has to be for a ideal business. Uh, that will not be available if you don't manage them or govern them in that way. So that's the whole idea. And because of that reason, SAP came up with its first module on master data, that is master data management, SAP MDM. So in SAP MDM, we have a different tool like console, where basically we create some tables, structures, different ports, a lot of other things we can do. Then we have a data manager where we maintain the data along with some certain validations, derivations, search and duplicate check activity. And then we can also create some basic workflow. And then we have an import manager to import the data to MDM. And then we have a syndicator to replicate the data. So these are all different tools of MDM. Uh, but over the period of time, what industry has experienced that uh, MDM has certain challenges in order to upload data, in order to validate the data, in order to search and duplicate check, in order to provide advanced workflow or business flow. So there are always a certain area which was challenging for MDM, and then industry had a demand to have some module which will overcome those certain things and provide some advanced framework. Then the MDG came into the picture. So if I say that MDG came from MDM, then this statement will be more or less true, because architectural point of view, MDM and MDG both are same, but from the process point of view, if you see that MDM and MDG, they are completely different. Okay. So okay, one more thing, that is in between, if you have any question, please hold your question. Once I will reach certain point, I will open the floor for the discussion. Okay. So let me cover up quickly, or let me recollect those points which we discussed in the last session. So in MDG, basically we have a data model, process model, UI, workflow, search and duplicate check, data validations, derivations, replications. So these are all things we have in MDG, and that we are going to discuss in this particular discussion uh, in a very detailed manner with hands-on. So that is all about this master data. Then moving forward, that how the master data aligned. So basically, if I say that the left hand side of the screen is nothing but my source, and the right hand side of the screen is nothing but my target, and the middle what you see, that is nothing but my MDG instance. So what happened that MDG collects the information from the various instance or various channels rather. So it can come from some SAP system like CRM, SRM, some ECC system, ABAP system, or it can come from different interfaces like cloud interface or PI or some TIPCO, different middleware interface, or it can come from the different data quality systems, okay, or it can come from the S4 HANA or HANA system. So there can be a various sources where the data can come to MDG. Now the question is what kind of data we are expecting to come. Basically two type of information. One is the reference data, another one is the master data. These two information we can expect to receive MDG. Reference data means, let's say for an example, I want payment details like the payment method or terms of payment, or let's say if I talk about material prospective classification characteristics, then if I talk about unit of measure, material group. So these are all reference data, which basically will come from the different source systems. Now the thing is, why those reference data we need in MDG? Because if we are trying to create some material or customer or vendor, then we need those reference data. Without reference data, we cannot create the master data. And those reference data is obviously organization specific. And right now, those reference data is running or available in the present business production system. So we need those information in order to create or update some master data in MDG. So that's the reason we need those information. And once this information is available in MDG, then in MDG we have a different processes like create, change, mark for deletion, block unblock, mask change, etc. And then after that, once the data gets created, the data obviously stored in the respective database table, like for material, mostly Mara table, for customer vendor like KNA1, LFA1 table. Similarly, we have for finance for different tables. And then finally, the data will move to the target system. So again, the target system can be one ECC system, CRM system, SRM system, some third-party tool, or rather data pool, different type of like Syncforce, like One World Sync. These are all different data pool, which is third-party system, or some cloud system like S4 HANA Cloud, or some other system which is non-SAP systems. So these are all can be the target system. And obviously we have a certain replication channel in order to replicate the same. So this is an overview about like how the data comes and how the data goes out from MDG. And then we have a different type of data. One is reference data, as I was telling, like unit of measure, material type, material group, payment terms, payment method. So these are all company code, purchase org, plant details. These are all different reference data. Master data like customer, vendor, company, GL account, etc. Material. Then transactional data. So those data which are used or generated within the ERP system, they are transactional data. And then we have a reporting data for reporting purpose. Like just few minutes back, I was telling that BI has a very close relationship with MDG. So what happens that if I give one specific example, like in MDG, whatever the data we are creating or we are changing, those records if my business wants to see in a monthly basis or bi-weekly basis or weekly basis in a certain reporting tool, so what needs to be done that as soon as the data gets updated in MDG system or some target system, so BW team basically will extract those record, whether through delta load or full load, mostly delta load, not full load. Okay. Then daily basis, they will extract the data. So what is going to happen? The data will be equally updated to their instance, and then BW team will, you know, create a report based on those updates. So this is just one example. Similarly, for SLA purpose, we can also reflect certain report, whatever we are requesting through the change request, MDG change request, because in MDG, everything is happening through the change request. That is another thing. So these are all different data we deal with in MDG. Then next is like in MDG, what are the strengths? The strength is out of box configuration. First of all, like we have a different domain as we talked about, like we have material, customer, vendor, the whole BP. So basically BP having ERP vendor and customer. Okay. So in MDG, customer means is just not a customer, or vendor means is just not a vendor. It's a business partner along with ERP customer, business partner along with ERP vendor. Okay. So this is how the relationship is all about. Then we have integrated data models. So for different domain, we have a different data models, and data model contained the whole list of data, okay, and its relationship, okay, in the framework, how they relate with each other with a certain cardinality, etc. Then we have a governance process, like we can create a different flows based on create, change, mark for deletion, and that flow will touch through the different approvals. So in MDG, first thing is one very important thing is why we are talking about MDG. One of the crucial reason is that in normal ECC, what happens that if someone wants to create certain material or certain supplier, they can go to that particular transaction like MM01 or XK01 or XD01, whatever it is. And then they just write the details and just save it, and the data will save into the respective database table. No one is there to validate at the first hand whether this information is really needed or whether this is really required or whatever. So in MDG, basically we are, whatever the data we are creating, changing, mark for deletion, block unblock, whatever we are doing, every single data has to go through certain approval process. So there will be like a requester, verifier, approver. So certain different levels of approvals it will have. And then once everybody approve, then based on that, the data will be updated in the table. Okay. So otherwise it will not be updated. So that's the one of the important thing. And then we have a certain data quality, like certain validations, derivations, etc. Then we have a robust replication. We can replicate not only one, more than one system through ALE IDOC, through SOA services. Okay. So that is one thing. And also during the replication, if we need any certain validation, that is also possible. Okay. And then the reusability and extensibility. Like if I want to add some custom field, if I want to add some custom logic, so I can easily add that in MDG. So these are all different strengths in MDG. This is one quick portfolio, or rather The architecture, basically, again, the same story repeat more or less. Left hand side, the source system, right hand side, the target system, and middle you have MDG. And here you can consolidate the processes based on the different system. You are collecting the data, you are going through the consolidation processes, and and then finally the data you prepare. Okay, and then it goes through certain approval levels, some certain governance activity, and then finally the data gets activated, stored into the respective database table, and at the same time it goes to the target system. Okay. So this is the whole integrated architectural approach. Now this is the business flow, as I was telling, like uh, whoever is requester, so requester will first request it. It will go to next level, then next level will approve, then another level. Like how many levels we can have? The answer is we can have n levels because every organization is unique and their business flow will be unique. So we cannot tell that only two, three, four. No, there can be n number of levels based on the business requirement. Okay, and finally it will be uh, activated and then replicate to the further systems. This is one architecture which is very detailed architecture. So here you can see again same story. The left hand side is a source, right hand side is a target, middle is MDG. So left hand side you are receiving the data from HANA or certain data services, information steward, some integration tools, some other SAP system, no sorry, non-SAP systems, etc. And then you receive the data. And in MDG, we know that MDG is basically written on ABAP and it is basically on top of ERP 6.0. And then in MDG, we have different master data, finance, material, business partner, custom object. And then also it has something called data model, workflow, UI, validations, derivations, uh, the value mapping, key mapping, replication. So all sort of things happens, which definitely we are going to talk about each and every chapter. We have a detailed discussion for that. And this data can be accessed through NWBC, NetWeaver Business Client. So this is one kind of a UI interface. Through that Launchpad interface, we can create, change, mark for deletion of the master data. And finally, it goes to the target. Now, let me show you here quickly because I have a system with me, how it works. So let's say, first of all, this is the MDG system, and this system access you will be provided. So for that, you need to connect with coordinator. Coordinator will share all those details. For this chapter, if you don't have the system, no worries. But request you from next chapter onwards, we will be required this system because I will start creating different demonstrations, and it will be good if you parallelly practice that offline what I will be creating. So then you will have a more question on that. Okay. So now let me go to NWBC, which is NetWeaver Business Client Launchpad. So why I'm here? Because I'm trying to create something or change something, etc. So here, so I can see different master data we have, like material master data, customer master data, then finance master data, then we have a business partner, then we have supplier, etc. Supplier governance. Okay. So let's say material, if I go with, so let's create material. Then I enter something. Don't ask me at this moment what is change request type and all those things. This is required a good amount of discussion. Just try to see what exactly the things are happening, because we will have a very detailed discussion in those things. Okay, so I'm just showing you just to make you familiar with the system. Okay, so this is look like a change request. So change request is nothing but a form where you have some change request number, which is a unique number, of course, and then followed by certain detailing about the change request, and followed by some information about the basic data. So this is for material. Okay, this is for material, Matt, and the basic data. And the basic data we have material number, which is of course temporary number, because it has to be gone through a proper approval, and then only it will have a permanent number. Then we have base unit of measure, material type, industry sector, material group, etc., etc. Then these are all standard field. Now, apart from this standard field, if you want some custom field to be added, that also you can add. Okay, so that is again required another set of configuration, which we will be talking down the line. Then we have something called classification and characteristics. Also, we have dimensions, GTing details, descriptions. Usually it does not take enough time because the system got refreshed recently, just about an hour ago. So that's the reason, post refresh, always first time when you try to access the system, it will behave little slow, but thereafter it will be okay. So here you can see the different classifications. So you can select the classification data from here. So, so this is a kind of a reference data, which is a different classification, and based on that we will have certain characteristics. Okay, so this is one thing. Then we have some more data like GTIN, also the plant details, etc., etc. So this is for material. Similarly, if I show you one for let's say supplier governance, search supplier. Also try to switch to Chrome. Okay, search supplier. And then from manage supplier, we can click a new item. So let's say create supplier. Again, post refresh, this is the first time I'm opening supplier. So that's what it's creating every time. Okay. So this is also again a change request, which is having the change request detail, and then you have the supplier details. So basically you select the supplier from here, you select the supplier from here, along with the address details like street details, postal code, country, language, transportation zone, etc. Then let's say some search term, you enter some first name, and then you define the roles. So basically we have, for supplier, we have two different roles. One is company code and another one is purchase org. Similarly, if you go with customer, then we will have company code and sales org. So the role will be FLVN00. This is for company code. And then just like this. Try with I. Sometimes I'm having synchronization problem. So that's what we need. Internet Explorer sometimes. Same details. Let me fill role. So this is FLVN00. Then another one is FLVN01. So first one is for company code, second one is for purchase order. Then you go to the ERP vendor. So this is the section what we see. This is nothing but the business partner. And then we have the ERP vendor. So click here for the ERP vendor. Okay. Then we have company code and purchase order. Let's say create the company code. So I'm just selecting the first item, whatever we have. Then reconciliation account, which is nothing but a kind of a GL account. I'm just taking randomly some details. Okay. Then terms of payments. Okay. Then payment method. So these are all what I am selecting. These are all reference data. Selecting something and then done. Enter the field for country key and require purchase organization. Similarly, because I have added the role for purchase org, So I need to add the purchase order details as well. So this is the purchase order details. I'm just selecting something. Okay. Then done. Country. Country is, let's say, okay, India, and then submit. Okay. So then we submit. So this is how the change request we prepare and submit for the further process. Okay. So this is how we deal with basically a different type of. So here we go back to the slides. So this is the NetWeaver business client. So by using the NetWeaver business client, we can process the data, we can create the data, etc. And recently, it also replaced with Fury. Okay, Fury, obviously, it's a advanced one. By default, NWBC comes, which is nothing but a part of floor plan manager UI. But nowadays, some of some of some of the project they move already to the Fury or UI5 component. Okay, so then once the data is ready, then it's sent to the target system. And target also we use ALI, doc, SOA approaches, file transfer, etc. So this is one architecture, and this is one standard architecture. And that's what I was telling. Like if you see this in MDM also having similar architecture. So architecture wise, there is no difference between MDM and MDG. The only difference is the process wise. So let's move on to the master material. So in material case, like we have different details like material descriptions, unit of measure, pricing data, financial data, logistic information, etc. Similarly, for customer, we have business partner information like business partner address details, then bank details, then tax informations. Then we have a following customer details, ERP customer like company code, purchase order, etc. Then similarly for vendor, more or less same story. First is business partner details like business partner address, uh, role, bank details, then tax details, and then you have company code and sales. Okay. Sorry, sales org is for customer, for vendor it's a purchase. Then financial will have like GL account, company, profit center group, cost center group, etc. And this is one overall picture like for finance, for business partner. So business partner include customer and vendor. But if I'm, let's say, vendor phase at this moment, I will only concentrate on the vendor side. Okay. Similarly for material, okay, apart from that, we have another module which in place that is in enterprise asset management, which is basically for any kind of acquisitions purpose we use because it's a beyond of financial, material, and business partner level. So this is one overview. However, regarding EAM, we will have a very detailed discussion down the line. So uh, not required in detail at this moment. So this is what we discussed till last session. So today I will talk about from the next slide. But so far now, whatever I discussed, do you have any question? Please let me know.
Basically, my question is a little more general in the sense going back to the previous slide where you say where you have the system, source system and target system. Okay. So since I'm new to SAP, I'm asking this question. So basically, just say, okay, my question will be more from MM side because my little experience is with MM only. Uh, so when we have MDG in our at our client side, so whether we create a new material or we change anything in it, that has to happen uh, through the work process. But that is, someone raises a requisition, and then we as MDG consultants will actually, once the approval comes through, we make the changes. So that's the way it works, I guess. So am I on the right track?
Okay,
Huh?
yes, yes, more or less. Let me help you on this. So
Okay.
basically, there are two things.
Mhm.
Okay, there are two things. One is that there can be two scenarios at any point of time.
Mhm.
One is that you are going to create completely new data in terms of material, customer, vendor. So you are not taking any old master data from your archive system or the system which previously you had for business. Okay.
Okay.
So then the data you are creating through MDG change request, and that will travel through different approval process, and then finally it will complete. So that is one process.
Okay.
Second thing is, let's say you already have certain material
Mhm.
with the reference details and everything. Now,
Mhm.
this that material, uh, you want to keep it in your system as an archive data.
Mhm.
Okay. So in that case, what happens? In that case, if I show you quickly for a material here, so here, in that case, you need not to create a new material, or you can create a new material with the same reference detail. Just in the old material number field, you need to maintain the old material number. Okay,
Okay.
so what is going to happen? The new material will be created, and obviously it will again go through different approval. The approval process is always common. Okay,
Okay.
whatever you are doing, create, change, mark for deletion, block, unblock. Even though, let's say, if you are trying to block some master data, whether that is a right data you are blocking, or this is really necessary to block. Okay, so that also needs to be approved by the different approvers. So the idea is like you can maintain the old material number as a
Mhm.
archive data, and then with the same reference details, same classification, same characteristics, maybe you want to add some more along with that. So that also you can add on, obviously, and then you finally create a fresh material which is linked with your old material number, and then the data will be reside in your respective Marathi.
Okay.
Okay, this is how we maintain. So that's what I said, that from source system we basically take two type of data. One is the reference data, another one is the master data. So most of the cases we usually go with the reference data, but there are certain cases where we also need to archive our master data. So that then we have to send the master data as well.
Okay. Okay. So basically, it's like this. Supposing you're receiving, supposing you're dealing with, since you mentioned reference data is, the company code. Uh, just say we are dealing with four or five different company codes, and each one have their own set of materials. So reference data is like the foundation on which different materials are, based. Are different materials are there for each. So that is one thing. And okay, okay. I guess the internal
Yes,
architecture,
that,
as we keep going, we will. I guess I'll understand it
yeah,
because.
correct. Like, let's say reference data is, let's say, base unit of measure. So
Mhm,
you will have list of base unit of measures.
mhm,
Okay, so this list, what you are seeing, because it's a it's a training system. Okay, it's an
Mhm.
IDS server. So
Mhm.
obviously, what you are seeing, that is what you are seeing, that is nothing but the standard unit of measure. But whenever it comes to the project, it is may not be the same. Only you will have those unit of measure which is relevant to your business. So accordingly, you need to maintain those reference data in your MDG system as well. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the one thing. Similarly, the material type. So
Okay.
basically, how you maintain them? Basically, you maintain them through SPRO configurations,
Yeah.
or you can directly do the data initial data load, which will feed those information to your MDG system.
Mhm.
Okay. So that will come.
Okay. Okay.
Can I
So
ask a question?
Yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
First of all, thank you. Was it Raghu? That was a very good question. I was actually thinking about the same. Uh,
thank you.
Thanks. Second question is, Aditya, is uh, when we talk about the out of box functionality, uh, some of the standard per the industry, for example, let's talk about the business partner, vendor specific. Uh, some of the SAP standard unit of measure, all that will be there. That hierarchy will be there as a part of the integrated object model
Yes,
within the.
it will be. Yes, it will be there. Now it is up to you whether you need to keep it or you need to discard them and just maintain whatever you need it as per your organization needed.
Got it. Thank you. And one general question. Since you have several years of experience and and I do realize every project is different, but as far as 80/20 rule, what do you see in the industry? Source system could be, let's say, SAP or non-SAP system. But what do you normally see? Is it like data coming from an ECC system to MDG and the target being the same ECC system as well?
This is a very good question. Basically, nowadays, if I talk about now this question, I will have two answers. Answer number one, if I talk about 2 or 3 years back, the situation was the source was basically MDM and ECC mainly. Okay. Now from MDM, they used to move to MDG. So that is one thing. Or you have already ECC and now you are migrating to MDG. So basically, mostly your sources are MDM or ECC, and your target was mainly ECC. Okay, that I'm telling you just 2 3 years back in most of the project. Okay, but now the situation has changed completely. Now in present scenario, the source could be your ECC system or HANA system or MDM system, but your end is mostly ECC or S4 HANA on cloud. Okay, this is I'm telling you some pattern which I can see from the different project. May not be same for all, but the pattern is either ECC or S4 HANA or both. Okay,
Okay,
so that is
thank you.
how it is.
Okay, thanks.
Uh, if you can come to slide number 6, I just want to verify something. Slide number 6.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, can you click on that so that it comes on the big? Yeah, okay, thank you. So basically, okay, coming at this, just say source system. Just say we are getting our master data from some legacy, some system. Just say material, uh, uh, some material parameter has to be changed, some material field has to be changed. So it comes on to stage data. That was one part. Okay, I guess in the course of the class we will. So okay, my question is this: When it's actually in the active master data, that is where it is in a condition where it can be actually usable by the target system, right? At which step does
Absolutely
it
right.
at which step does it actually
Abs-
populate the Mara and Marcy and all those? At which step in this one does
okay.
Mara and Marcy get
So
populated?
so yeah. So basically, what happens, like today, probably down the line, we are talking about the same thing. But as you were asking, like what happens that within MDG, when we create some change request for certain master data, whether material, vendor, supplier. So once we submit, like one of the change request I just submitted, let's see what happens. Okay, now you can see the status. I can see final check approved. Okay, so uh, change request 1217. I had just one step of process. Okay, that's what you can see. Just I submit and that activated. Okay, I can create multiple steps, and definitely I will create that in our down the line sessions. Now let me show you supplier governance. So display change request. My change request. All it is taking little time because it has been refreshed recently. So it is like once you started to work on that particular governance master data, then the things will be a little faster. But however, I will check with coordinator along with basis whether backend we can boost up a little bit. Okay, so here this is the change request and this is the business partner ID. So let me click on business partner ID. So as I was telling that whenever we are creating some ERP supplier or ERP customer in MDG, we are at the same time creating the business partner along with the respective ERP vendor or ERP customer. So now here I have entered some detail through the MDG change request. That change request gone for activation done. I received the vendor number based on my number ranges, whatever it has been set. Now this vendor number, I can directly go to AC16 LFA1 table, enter. So this is my data, okay? And now this data is now activated and now uh, saved in the respective ECC table, okay? Now the same record, if I want to replicate to some target system, then
Mhm.
how I will replicate? Then so definitely I should have some certain replication channel, or otherwise I can use the transaction DRF out, okay? And then replication model, I don't think so there will be anything at this moment. So definitely I need to create that, okay? So whatever it is, like whatever the channel I will have, I will select that, go to the replication, and similarly vendor is also not there. So I need to also design for vendor as well. Okay. Just for time being, I'm just explaining you. So here you will have the vendor because when I will maintain the vendor message type, so then you will have the vendor as an item. Then I will give the vendor number and I will save it. And that will, the moment I will save, the moment I will save, and then I will execute. The moment I will execute, it will go to the respective target system.
Yeah.
So this is how the replication happens.
Okay.
Basically, this is manual replication. But whether the manual replication will take place, manual replication is one process. If something fails, then I can find out the error, I can fix the error, and then I can manually replicate them. But the whole process will be a automated process. So as soon as the details will be created and stored into the respective Mara table or LFA1 table, whatever, automatically it will drive to the target system. So target system also will have a respective, if it is SAP system, then respective LFA1 table they will also have. Okay, let's say if it is a ECC system or S4 HANA system, then that will also have the respective LFA1 table and the data will store in the LFA1 table there. Okay. And if it is some other system like some different interface like PI or CPI cloud interface or some non-SAP system, then that will go in that way. Okay.
Yeah, Aditya, I have one doubt.
Clear? Yes.
Yeah, Aditya, in a
Tell
project,
me.
I need to create a. Hello.
Yeah, please tell
Can
me. I'm not able to. I missed out your last word. Yeah, please come again.
in a project, I need to create a brand new material with some reference data. At that time, I need to use the standard change request or need to create any customer change request.
Mostly we use customized change request. Standard change request. I don't think so. Any organization or any customers will be accept. Okay.
Oh,
So that's what instead of using MAT01 or MAT02 or supplier 01, supplier 02, we will have our own Z or Y change request.
okay. Okay. The
Okay.
data model also, right?
Because data model, no, data model will be standard. If as long as we are using MM, and finance, if it is a custom data model, mostly majority of the project they go with MM, and finance. Okay, so from that point of view, I'm talking about. So no, data model will remain a standard name. Only the required additional custom field needs to be added.
Okay,
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 in
got it.
data model. And then the
Thank
respective configurations will go on, and then that you need to add on UI, and then that will have certain validations, derivations, and that will also go for the replication as well. So
Oh,
whole channel will update accordingly.
Yeah, I guess
okay.
in a normal
Thank
scenario, based on this slide number 6, if we see from one end to another end, one complete process, everything will be clear for me. Like, either say one material coming from the source system, all the processes it goes through under MDG, and finally it populates the respective uh, uh, table, and then the governed system it populates there. I guess that will uh, kind of bring everything to light. I guess.
Correct. That's the reason I provide this screenshot.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Yeah.
You mentioned that the reference data comes from ECC or S4 through SPRO. Why not create reference data through MDG also with proper approval? Any comments?
Definitely, it is possible. I just said that normally it comes because the thing is what happens that the already your organization is having the running production system. So majority of the cases, I'm just taking the example with the majority cases. So majority cases, what happens? They say that look, we already have those set of material type or those set of unit of measure in our organization. So please go ahead with that. Or if they are saying, okay, probably we need two more this time for MDG. So we will be add on directly in MDG through SPR or configuration, those additional items. Similarly, for classification for MDG, if they want a new classification with a new set of characteristics, then definitely that will be created directly in MDG.
And there are separate change requests for those? For reference data creating
Not
reference data?
really. No. For reference data, there is no change request. Change request is only for the master data. Reference data is not requiring change request. Okay.
But it's still created in MDG. Can be created in MDG.
Yeah, definitely. We can. We can, of course, create in MDG. Okay. So, shall I continue now? Or anybody has any further question?
Yeah, please continue, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So please don't call me sir.
I'm sorry.
So now these are all set of questions. However, this question already we talked about, but still I want to repeat this because being a architect or being a senior consultant in the project, the first thing which you need to do that is to engage with your customer, and customer will ask you some basic questions, and those basic questions you need to answer with a certain scenario so your customer can able to understand. So what are those basic questions normally which ask? That is we call as a the prior engagement with customer, or in the blueprint phase, or whatever it is. So these are all very commonly asked questions. Yes, there might be some other questions. There might be thousands of other questions, but this is one pattern I'm talking about. So one is, how can I establish a maintain once and use everywhere best practice? Because your customer may not have clear understanding about the entire technicality of MDG. So what they will think, okay, they will start thinking, look, in MDG, you will have all the standard fields, but in my process, you will have a lot of custom fields. So how you will feed those custom fields? So that will be their concern. So that's what they will ask such kind of question. So then you have to tell them that no, it's not a point of worry, because in MDG data model or whatever, wherever in the framework, basically, whatever the custom field you need, we will be able to add them, and for that you need not to erase everything and then create something completely from the beginning. No, it's not like that. It's just like you can go ahead and add on as an enhancement. So enhancement will help you to do such kind of add-ons. So that is one thing. Second thing is, how can I reduce cost by eliminating redundant effort to maintain master data through avoiding duplicates? Because this is one of the very important and one of the very major point why we are moving to MDG. Because remember, and underline this point very clearly. Even though through MDG process, you are not 100% removing duplicate data. Point number two, even business also need duplicate data sometimes. Now, let me justify the second point. What happens that when you are creating some material, let's say, more or less your basic details are same, but the classifications are different. So the moment you will submit the data, it will say that you are actually creating a partial duplicate record because your basic details are more or less same. But still you need to continue because the classifications are different. So that's what, even though in the project or in the process or in the framework, we need sometimes the duplicate record. Okay. And the first point which I said, that though you are using MDG, I can understand in MDM there was a challenge. So that's what we moved to MDG. But even in MDG as well, it is not possible to eliminate the duplicate records 100%. Okay. But what you can do, you can reduce the number. And that is what the project is looking for. That makes sure that my end user who is not educated enough, so make sure that we must provide certain framework which will help them not to create any duplicate record randomly, okay, when they are starting to create the data. Okay. So that is how. So is this possible? Definitely. In MDG, the kind of a search and duplicate check configurations we have, it is providing you a advanced level duplicate check, which will in every submission, in every change request submission, it will ask you that whether you need that record and so details are same. It will clearly mention that, and then it is up to you whether you will continue or you can discount that because it's a potential duplicate data. That's the another point. Third thing is, how can I increase the quality of my material master data, like classification, plant, warehouse, GTIN details, similarly some custom informations through central management and governance. So the simple answer is, of course, these are all reference data, and reference data we can add. In fact, custom reference data, if you want to add, that is also possible. So it is very much possible here. Next is, how can I get consistent insight into sales, manufacturing, procurement volumes? Like this is particularly for a business partner point of view, whether if I have any sales data or PO or manufacturing information, procurement volumes. So definitely there is possible for customer, vendor, product master data as well. Now, how can I accelerate availability to up-to-date master data in my business network? So it is very important that time to time we need to update our master data. Obviously, business will update, but the framework should allow time to time to update. So that's what the answer will be. Yes, that's what we have, something called change or update master data, where you can go ahead and update the master data. And by using change and update master data, of course, you can update one record at a time. But let's say you have 1,000 records at the same time to be updated, then you can use mass change, mass update, multiprocessing. Okay, these are all different approach we have in MDG framework, which can be used. So that is also possible. Then how can I get the transparency on who has changed what, when, why? So this is again a kind of a direct relation with BW. So what happens that everything by this time we came to know that everything we create, change, or doing mark for deletion or block unblock, everything we are doing through change request in MDG. Now, this change request, what happens? Like, let's say I create the change request, and I really need that particular master data urgently because I need to pay some supplier to my supplier. Okay, so because that vendor will have the bank details, the tax details, and everything. Until that gets approved, the payment can't be released. In that case, it will go to, let's say, Mr. X, Mr. Y for the approval, and Mr. X and Y is on leave. Then what is going to happen? Somebody has to address me. So I have to wait, or I need to look for somebody else. So business really interested to see that in a certain time frame, like weekly basis, monthly basis, bi-weekly basis, how many change requests has been initiated, how many has been
Can't hear
it's a
anything.
extracted basically.
I'm sorry. There was
Hello.
silence for about 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So just.
Okay. Okay. Now can you able to hear me?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Okay. So what I was telling that this particular point, how can I get transparency on who has changed what, when, and why? So what happens that uh, mm, by this time we came to know that everything we are creating, changing, or whatever we are doing, that is through the change request, MDG change request. So what happens that when you initiate some change request, it is important for business to know that that particular change request, based on the priority, whether it is completed on time or not. And that business will track on weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, monthly basis, and sometimes it is go beyond that, that is up to the quarterly or annually. And based on that, business will identify that how many change request has been initiated and how many change request has been uh, completed on time based on priority. Okay, so because of that reason, whether such kind of process can be possible to create in MDG, the answer is of course. In within MDG we can create, or we we can collect those information into a certain table, and from that table BW team can extract the data and generate the report or generate the pie charts. Okay, so that will be pretty clear that what is our whole performance as a team. Okay, so that is very much possible. And while accomplishing all that, how can I best leverage in my investment in business? So basically, yes, definitely. So these are all possible, and which will obviously, and along with that, you have a the updated technology like consolidation, like accessing the data through Fiori. Particularly when you are accessing the data through Fiori, particularly for the mass processing, mass update, that is very much advanced and user friendly.
Sorry, Aditya, I can't hear you.
Yeah, there was silence for about 10 seconds now. Still can't hear.
But you can hear me, Raghu, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. What about others? Can others hear or? Okay.
No.
Even I can't hear.
Okay.
So he's not speaking anything. He's talking to me. He'll be back.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, can you able to hear me?
Yeah. Now we can hear.
Okay, okay. No, actually, there is a power cut at my area, so I don't know when it will come. So I think we have to stop here today. And tomorrow, I'm not 100% sure because I will have a major production movement tomorrow. But that I can confirm tomorrow afternoon. Okay, tomorrow morning we will have. So afternoon I can confirm that.
Hey, Aditya, when we asked
Okay.
last week, you were told that, it is only once a week. Based on that, I have planned for something to go out for tomorrow. Again, I already spoke to Arun. He said that there won't be any class tomorrow. So, I don't
No
know when.
problem. So there will be no session tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
one second.
If you
Power has
plan to
come.
have two classes, please notify at least, ahead of the time so we can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's correct. That's very good.